There is no mystery about the Capitol riot. There is no uncertainty as to what happened and why. But because everything about what happened on January 6, 2021 concerns cultural leader of the Republican Party, and it pays him to pretend there is a mystery, we approach third anniversary of that day with renewed efforts to rewrite its history. Donald Trump lost the 2020 presidential election and openly refused to accept it. Any questions about the legitimacy of the vote that Trump had fueled for years evaporated within weeks, if not days. Many of his allies have turned to vague arguments about how the system is working against him. He argued that it was a covered up by Trump haters and, with increasing desperation, demanded that his supporters in Washington and elsewhere mobilize to defend him. Just hours after a heated Oval Office debate in which his team tried to figure out how to hold power, he shared a post on social media urging his supporters come Washington January 6. He promised the protest that day would be "Go Wild." This message itself emerges again and again when looking at what triggered participants to be at the Capitol Day. Thousands came. Trump, still trying to figure out how to block certification of Joe Biden's election, addressed the crowd, making more false claims, including debunked ones, about and encouraging people march on Capitol. A rebellion broke out. Many police officers were attacked. A few hours later, Trump's loss was made official. In short, the violence that day was carried out by Trump supporters and supporters of Trump politics. They were there not only because Trump had designated that day and location as the place to protest, but also because he had relentlessly argued that a protest was necessary. The goal was clearly to challenge the 2020 election results. The fact that Trump used word peaceful once in his speech is no more exculpatory than the fact that thousands of Trump supporters did not resort to violence and broke into Capitol. There was violence and there were violent actors. They were there because Trump refused to acknowledge that voters had rejected him. There was a point where this could understandably seem like ciphers for Trump's tenure in politics. Trump lost the election and then reacted violently to the transfer of power. History books, if not Hollywood, suggest an epilogue in which he spends his remaining years exiled into the wilderness. But he was never exiled. Less than 2 weeks after Trump left Washington, leader of the House Republican Conference paid a sycophantic visit to former president, seeking to consolidate his own power. Since 2015, Republicans have understood that even valid criticism of Trump can be directed to his and their own interests. And the riot was no different. So they did. And 1,000 days after the insurrection, Trump found himself a clear frontrunner for the Republican 2024 presidential nomination. This adds new urgency efforts by Trump's allies to defuse Trump's response to